Welcome back, guys. In this video tutorial, we'll be talking about the mTOR pathway. Now remember, we have talked about the PI3K, AKT and mTOR pathway in details. And we know that these three things, PI3K, AKT and mTOR all together bring the cell inside the survival pathway. That means it turn on all those proteins that helps the cell to grow and divide and finally mature, and also inhibit all those apoptotic factors inside the cell. So this PI3K, AKT and mTOR, those are obviously the cell survival proteins rather than the apoptotic proteins. So now if you look at here, in case of the mTOR pathway in details, obviously there should be PI3K, AKT come together because all those things work together. The idea here, normally if you look at from this image first, you can see that mTOR pathway, obviously three questions I always want you to ask once you're solving any of this signaling pathway. One is that what is the signaling molecule, second is what is the kind of receptor, and third thing is what is the function of that pathway. Because if you answer these three things, you kind of know the pathway. Now here the signaling molecules are growth factors. Again, let's say epidermal growth factor, it can be platelet derived growth factor, or fibroblast growth factor, and many more can be possible. Second thing is the type of receptors. Obviously in this case we use receptor tyrosine kinase. Those are called as enzyme coupled receptor. The same type of receptor for anything like PI3 kinase, AKT and mTOR, the same type of receptor, the same signaling molecules, because they belongs to the same signaling transduction pathway. Now the third thing is that what is the functionality? Again, the functionality is also the same, that is cell growth and proliferation, cell cycle to occur properly, and then to inhibit the apoptotic pathway and apoptotic factors inside the cell. So now if you see it here that receptor tyrosine kinase is embedded in the membrane, once the growth factor receptor bound with it, the growth factor is bound with it, then it finally turn on PI3 kinase. Once it turn on the PI3 kinase, it's phosphorylating the PI3 kinase. Now PI3 kinase is active. Now PI3 kinase can add an extra phosphate group to phosphatidyl inositol bisphosphate, and now that PIP2 is now getting another phosphate, it becomes PIP3, so one phosphate is added. So this is the conversion done by PI3 kinase. Once PIP3 is made, in this PIP3 can activate AKT. So once the AKT is activated by PIP3, then the AKT will further activate mTOR. Now mTOR belongs here at the terminal part. So is the mTOR important? The answer is it's super important, because ultimately, remember, in any signal transduction pathway there is a link between the extracellular and intracellular junction, and obviously there is a link between the cytosolic and nuclear connection, because ultimately whatever signal you get from outside the cell, first thing is that you need to put it inside the cell, and second thing is that you need to put it inside the nucleus. So now as it was previously outside, for the first time to come inside the cell, it requires this AKT to be activated, so PI3 kinase to be activated. So PI3 kinase having the first important property there. AKT recruits this mTOR, AKT activates the mTOR, and that is a important job for AKT. But the important thing about mTOR is that mTOR is a protein that helps in activating so many different varieties of transcription factors. Remember, transcription factors are ultimate deal breakers, because those transcription factors will eventually go inside the cell, inside the nucleus, and it will sit on the promoter to finally activate the transcription of several different genes, the target genes that are required for the cell to grow and divide and proliferate. So that thing can only be possible if mTOR is active, and mTOR is activated by AKT. It's not a direct activation pathway, it's a kind of semi-direct, because in this case AKT work together with mTOR along with some other accessory proteins like TSC1 and TSC2. So as you can see it here, TSC1, TSC2, those things are present there. So normally this TSC1 and TSC2 blocks another protein called REB, R-H-E-B, REB. Now this REB will, with the help of a G protein, the GTP, can activate mTOR. REB is a very important protein which is getting the ability to activate mTOR. AKT cannot directly activate mTOR, only Rib can. But the thing is, inside the cell usually the Rib is turned off. Rib is inactivated by TSC1 and TSC2. So TSC dimers play the inhibitory role for Rib. Now the thing is, AKT inhibit these TSC dimers. As AKT inhibit the TSC dimers, in that case Rib is now free. Rib can activate the mTOR, and then mTOR, there are two different varieties of mTOR actually, mTOR C1 and mTOR C2. The mTOR C1 is now activated by Rib. Once mTOR C1 is activated by Rib, now the mTOR C1 can activate another protein called S6K. It can activate CRIB, the transcription factor. S6K is also another transcription factor. It activates S6, the transcription factor, and then it can help in protein synthesis to occur properly. Now remember, again inside the cell there is a positive regulation and a negative regulation. So in case of protein synthesis also there is a positive regulation by S6 for a target gene to upregulate the expression of target gene, and also to downregulate the expression they have another proteins, transcription factors like 4EBP1. So in this case, this 4EBP1 and all these transcription factors should be, those transcription factor is inhibiting the protein gene target to be transcribed properly. So mTOR C1 not only activates the uplifting transcription factor, but also downregulate this another inhibitory transcription factor. So this 4EBP1 expression is halted by mTOR C1, and the expression of S6K is uplifted by mTOR C1, and that leads to the protein synthesis for the target gene to occur properly, and then the cell can grow and divide very rapidly, and we see the cell proliferation. So if you look at here the functions of mTOR pathway, it's very similar, like 4 different functionalities listed here. Most important thing is the survival. That's what I always talk about. It helps in surviving, helps in DNA repair, apoptosis, autophagy. These things are blocked there and survival is done. And it helps in the bioenergetics, like for the expression of GLUT receptors, LAT and glycolytic enzymes. It helps in the angiogenesis by recruiting this VEGF, PDGF, ANG, all those signal molecules. And it also helps in cell growth and proliferation by activating cell cyclin D1. And also there are certain mediators inside the cell which degrade the cyclin D1 and downregulate the expression of cyclin D1, which is also blocked by mTOR molecule, right? So in a sense it helps in all these directions for the cell survival, cell to grow and divide, and also preventing the apoptosis of the cell, right? So that was the functionality of mTOR pathway, and I hope that video helps you. If it helps you, definitely subscribe to my channel to get more videos like this, and obviously like the video, share the video with your friends in all the social network platforms. Thank you very much.